Welcome back, guys. So in today's video, I'm getting married. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not getting married, but I'm going to teach you how to build this crazy awesome garden arbor just using basic materials. What kind of gave me the idea on teaching you how to build a trellis is they are so expensive. I'm seeing prices from $500 to $1,200 for trellises that look half this nice. So for all those out there that are interested in making money with woodworking, it's that time of the year. Time to get your garden items ready, and garden items are selling like crazy already. So if you're watching for the make money with woodworking aspect of it, make sure to hang around to the end. I'll go into more detail on the business and marketing side of things. Or if you're watching this just to make one for yourself, let's go ahead and get started.
Alright guys, so for this build, I'm just going to be using common tools: jigsaw, miter saw, table saw. Of course, if you have something like a bandsaw, it would make the project a lot easier. But we don't all have that. As always, the parts list will be in the description of this video. Or if you decide that you would like the plans, head over to my Etsy shop. I'll throw the link in the description. And we are going to start out with building our sidewalls, which will be parts A through D. And the most important step is you have to have a nosy shop dog that is obviously bored by this project, and then drill 2 pocket holes at the end of each post, which is part B. And this is the type of project where the versatility of Craig's 520 Pro comes in super handy. So now with our pocket holes installed in our post, let's go ahead and attach that to our bottom plate C. And since this is going to be more of an exterior build, I'll be using 2.5-inch blue coat screws. And I'm just going to measure 2 inches in from each side and install the post. And also keep in mind we're going to be needing 2 identical sidewalls, so I'll show you how to make one and you just repeat the process for the second. And next we're going to be installing our side brace D. And anytime that I give you a measurement, it will be from the bottom of the bottom plate, so essentially the ground, up to the bottom of the part that you're going to be installing. So as an example, the bottom of this part will be 16 inches away from the bottom of the base. And just a tip, whenever you're installing your parts, make sure to place the pocket holes where they're easy to hide. And now let's go ahead and cut our knee braces. These are just 10.25-inch boards cut on 45s. And just another tip, anytime I give you a dimension, let's say like how I said 10.25 inch, that will be from tip to tip of the longest points of your miter. So I'll cut my pocket holes in these, and then I'm going to install them in the center of my baseboard and my posts. And just a reminder, if you like builds like this, do not forget to smash that subscribe button and hit that little notification bell. And here's another quick tip, and you're actually going to hear me say that a lot in this video, you already have, but anytime that you're cutting 45s or any type of miter with a pocket hole jig, place the material that way that your miter is flush with the bottom of the plate. Okay, so as you can see, I am installing these with all of my pocket holes facing the same direction. This is what I'm going to be calling my inside. And now you need to check out the durability of your drill. And if it passes the test, give a little smirk like a crazy person. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's install our second side brace D. This one is going to be installed 52.5 inches up and even with the inside edges of our posts. And now let's get to the fun part, cutting out our arches and our top braces. The top brace is made from 2x6 material. And we are going to measure 2 inches in from each side and 2 inches from the top. And once you have your 3 reference points, let's go ahead and find something that will make this arch. And bingo, 5-gallon bucket will do the trick. Or if you're looking for something a little more precise, the templates for all of these arched cuts will be included with my plans. So let's go ahead and cut this out. And like I said, I'm just going to be using a jigsaw for this. Another tip, anytime that you're cutting thick material with a jigsaw, make sure to keep the base of the jigsaw on your material or you'll end up bending your blade. Now we'll just put a couple of pocket holes in each end of these and it's ready to install. This will be installed 64 inches from the bottom of our base, and it will also be flush with the inside of the wall like our last piece. And this is what it should look like at this point. Now would be the time to go ahead and make another one that is identical. So let's head over to the table saw, and I've had some very observant people notice that I've added something to my PPE. Talking about our PPE, we cannot forget about this awesome RZ mask. I love how it fastens in the back. It does not fog up my glasses, and I can breathe. And my last accessory to my ninja outfit is my AXIL hearing protection. These things are awesome. I can still hear people talk. I can still hear my machinery just at safe levels. I'll throw links into the description with discount codes for all of these. Okay, so what you're seeing me do here is rip down a 1x6 deck board into 1-inch strips. I'll be using these here in a bit for the fan trellis, and they're listed as Part J in the parts list. But first, let's go ahead and connect our two sides with our beams, and this is going to be Part F. And that's all that I'm doing here is taking a 2x6 and ripping 1/8 of an inch off of each side to make it square. So once I have it cut to length, I'm just going to measure down 1.5 inches from each top corner, and then start a 45-degree inward cut at that mark. And we'll be doing the exact same thing on the opposite side. Now with those cut, let's go ahead and make our long arch. And these arches are what set this arbor off, and they're really easy to make. So I'm just measuring 10.5 inches in from the bottom of our beams on both sides, and then 2 inches up. I'll throw some screws in at that point, and then use this thin piece of scrap wood that I just cut off, and use it as a template. Again, the plans will actually have the real templates for this. I just wanted to show you how you can make your own arches really in any shape that you want. So I'll just trace this out onto my board and we're ready to cut. Now we want to make sure to keep this piece because we're going to reuse it. So I'm just cleaning this up a bit with a sander and placing it exactly over where we just removed it. And I want to attach this using the Blue Coat pocket hole screws. So I'm going to be using Craig's quick flip that actually pre-drills and countersinks at the same time. And then when you're ready to install the screws, like the name says, you just quick flip it around and go to town. And then we'll just repeat this process for our second one. And this is what you end up with. Isn't that pretty cool? So while we're cutting arches, let's go ahead and cut our arch braces G. And I'm actually going to use the beam arches that we just cut out as a template. I just lined the top of the arch up with the top of a 2x4, made my mark there, then measured down 1.5 inches and made my second mark. And just FYI, this 2x4 is 15 3/4 inch from tip to tip with 50-degree angles on each side. Now let's go ahead and attach our sides to our beams. But first, let's go ahead and give everything a quick sanding and install some pocket hole plugs. Now to attach the beams, you can do it by yourself, but it's a lot easier if you snag a kiddo to help you out. And look at the excitement on his face. He lives for this. Or not, but regardless, what we are doing is just lining up the tops of our posts with the tops of our beams and the bottom of the 45-degree angle on the beams with the edge of the post. Now I'm just marking out equal spacing for my bolts, and then I'll use a 3/8 inch spade bit to drill these holes. And do not forget, safety first. Don't judge me. Okay, so after you drill 8 of these holes, we are going to go ahead and install our 3/8 inch by 4 inch lag bolts. You'll need 8 of these as well as 8 washers and 8 nuts. Now to install our arch braces, we let the 50-degree edges sit flush against our posts, line the tops up with the inside of our beams where it, kind of matches the arch that we've already cut out, pre-drill, countersink, and install our screws. Then we just repeat this process for all 4 corners of the arbor. And it's starting to come together. So let's go ahead and cut our trellis base eye. For this, I'm using 1x6 deck board cut to 7-inch length. This will give me an arch that's 6.5 inches across, then I can just go straight down from the center points. So in total, this part will be 5.5 inches tall. And I should have done this before, but I want this to sit flat, so I'm just cutting off the rounded edges. And then we'll just use a jigsaw to cut out our outline, and we have all of our trellis base parts. And if you're going to paint this, now is the time to go ahead and paint up the parts that are small and that may fit tight together and be hard to paint later on. So for an example, the trellis strips. And here's a quick tip. If you put screws in the ends of these strips, then you can paint all 4 sides at the same time. So now let's go ahead and cut and prepare our crossbars H. And I'll be cutting mine from a 2x6. So with your crossbars cut to size, let's go ahead and pre-drill and countersink. I'm going to be measuring 2.5 inches in to the center of the board. So I'll clean up any sharp edges that I may have. I'm going to lay them out just to see how they're going to fit. And they are fitting nicely. So it's time to send them on over to the paint station. Well, really don't have a paint station, but the table. So I'm going to go ahead and paint up all of my parts as well as what we have assembled so far. Once the paint dries, I'll go ahead and install all of my crossbars. And I'm using the spacing of 2 inches from the outside edges and then 4.5 inches apart from each other. But really, that doesn't matter. It's just whatever looks the best. Now let's get ready to assemble our trellis. And we're going to start with the trellis base. I'm going to go ahead and drill my pocket holes, and then we will install our first one on the outside edge. Well, first make sure you have the right length of screws. We will not be using 2.5 inch screws for this. We're going to be using 1 1/4 screws. But like I was saying, we're going to be installing this on the outside edge centered between our 2 beams. Once we have those installed, let's go ahead and put in our fan strips. And the first strip that we're going to install will be the center one. And we want to make sure that it is centered between our outer boards. With the center board attached on the outside, let's move to the inside. And with all 5 boards in place, so with the single board in place, center it on the inside. Once that is attached, pick up the rest of your boards and let the 2 outer boards rest against the inside of your post. Install those and then center your remaining 2 boards. And then repeat this process for the outside, except the 2 that are leaning against your posts. We're not going to put screws in those just yet. We are actually going to be tying all of this together with our trellis board K. So we're just going to pre-drill and countersink directly over the top of the 2 outer fan boards. And if you would like to plug these, you can buy pre-cut plugs or take a piece of 3/8 dowel and cut them off. And just sand them in and a little touch-up paint, you're good to go. And we are almost done. A couple more parts, she's ready to rock. Next, I'm going to install the inside trellis base in the same way that I did the previous part. And for our last part, trellis board L, I'm going to be installing it 37.25 inches up from the base, from the inside of the arbor. And did anyone happen to notice the random kid underneath of a table in the last scene? Well, let's back it up a bit. I can't tell if he's working or taking a nap. But anyway, the arbor is done. And honestly, it turned out a lot better than what I actually had pictured in my head, which is always a good thing.
Well, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed that video and we're actually able to learn something along the way. So let's go ahead and take a minute to talk about the business side of this, or the marketing side of this. This is a big one. The garden items have been selling for people like crazy, and they're making tons of money. One guy actually made enough just on the planters to buy a new professional, very expensive table saw. Another guy that I saw on Facebook had a whole garage full of planters, and he said that he has sold 70 in the last 3 months. So people will spend money on their decor, especially on the outside of their house. The nicer the item that you can build, the better, and the more unique of an item that you build, the better. Everyone wants their house to look unique, to look different, and to look nice. And by buying custom-made items, that allows them to do this. It's not like every other house on the street or wherever that you live, where everyone has the same planters. They have the same decor that they're getting from the big box stores. This is unique. Capitalize on that. Another awesome thing about this arbor, besides how cheap you can make it and how much everyone else is selling it for, is the fact that for a business standpoint, it's versatile. So yes, you can sell these as arbors, make a lot of money. This is a very high profit item. Or for those of you that are out there that are interested in making wedding rental items, bingo. A long time ago, as a part of another business, I had a wedding rental business, and it was awesome. I could build items like this, backdrops, things like that. They pay me pretty much what I have in material every time that they take it out, and then they bring it back to me. I mean, how can you beat that? Someone is paying you hundreds of dollars to borrow an item. That is the perfect scenario. So just an idea, if anybody's interested in something like that, this would be perfect for it, and you could charge a lot. Contact one of your local wedding rental places and just see how much an arbor costs to rent. You know, bride walks through it, whatever, yada, yada. You'd be surprised. And people will pay anything for weddings. You know, we always say people will spend money on kids, grandkids, pets, decorating their house. Weddings kind of trump all of it. The average wedding in the United States costs around $25,000 to $30,000, and that's where you can be getting in on some of that money. If you decide to do anything with the wedding rental stuff, You could go on with this style. Take some of our other builds, the obelisk or whatever, the trellis, even the planter boxes, make those up, put fake flowers in there, put some greenery on this thing, you know, hanging off of it, and rent them as a package. You would be surprised at how much that package would rent for. If you had enough items in there, it could essentially be $1,000 wedding rental package, and they wouldn't even blink an eye. I guess I need to make a whole video on just the wedding rental type of things because there's a ton of possibilities with everything that we have made. Again, if you don't want to mess with that, this is a high profit item just like the one that we had done a couple weeks ago with the pet stairs. That is a super, super high profit item. If you have not watched that video, check it out. They are selling for 10 times what you have in it. What else can you build right now that you can sell for 10 times what it actually costs to make? It costs $30 to make and you can sell them for $300. Easy, piece of pie. So if you haven't seen that video, make sure to check that out. This channel is about building people up in a world that wants to bring people down. Okay, so this may look intimidating. You may be saying to yourself, I can't build that. Well, yes, you can. You can build this. You saw the video. You saw how easy it was for me to put this thing together. I did not make it look easier. I did not edit out steps that would make it hard. I actually used common tools like a jigsaw. Yes, I have a bandsaw over here, but I use a jigsaw just to show you that it can be done with simple tools. So you've got this. You just have to have a little bit of belief in yourself and run with it. And it's going to start with getting up and just doing it. A lot of times you just have to dive into it. That is your homework for this week. I want you to pick a project that in the back of your mind you're saying, I can't do that. I want you to do it. I want you to dive into it. I already believe in you. You've got this. So go out there and get it. Until next time, see ya.